Hello, my loves. This is Heidi Raquel with your April soul message. Okay, it's a lot and it's also kind of simple, and I'm going to do my best to make what's a lot feel simple. Okay, so this one is called a new frequency. And this is what I'm feeling, is this sense of there is a new frequency coming in for us to help us move out what I'm seeing as sludge, kind of old calcified energy, ideas, thoughts, beliefs, patterns that we have in our life. Okay, so remember that in March we had the Fibonacci spiral and we had divine order. And this is literally spinning off of that. What I saw was this spiral rotating around, and it's like a spiral of light, and it's bringing us more into union, communion, and alignment with our own energy, with our higher selves, with our divine purpose, all of those things, so that we can kick off the sludge of the past, so to speak, the old ways of being and thinking and believing and feeling, and just the old patterning, right? So, it makes sense because we have Pluto having just moved into Aquarius March 23rd, and I talked about that in the March soul message. But we had Saturn that just moved into Pisces on, what was that, March 7th, I think, and that will be in Pisces for a couple of years. Still a significant cycle, but Pluto changing signs is massive because Pluto kind of gives us a description of whole generational cycles and what's going to happen. And with it being in Aquarius now, something that I did a reel on this just the other day on Instagram, but something that I discovered is the glyph for Aquarius is the two symbols that look like water, and being that it's the sign of the water bearer, I assumed that those lines were water, but I have since learned that they're not, they're energy, because Aquarius is ruled by energy. And Pluto is now in Aquarius. It's a 20-year cycle. But here at March 23rd until June, I forget the exact date, we're getting kind of a preview of Pluto in Aquarius. Then it's going to go back into Capricorn until January 2024. And then it will be there for 20 years until 2043. So this is big business. And what this means is that the arc of humanity now, the arc of kind of on the public stage, Pluto is always showing us like basically who is God in society. And so we have these generations. If you look over the generations, you can easily see what was God during that generation. And so we're moving into energy. And what that means for me, when I read that energy, I see, oh, the arc of the collective, humanity, focus of humanity is now going to arc towards energy. So we are going to start realizing at a base level that what science has been saying forever, however long back, we are 99.9999913 energy, and we are 0.000001% matter. So when we focus on the matter, we miss 99% of the equation. And all of the magic, all the opportunity, all the potential, all the possibility lives in the energy field. And that's why the work that I do, energy healing, is so massive. You can go to therapy for years and talk and talk and talk and talk and have nothing ever happen. You can come see me for 1 hour and have shit move and get out of there. Because you're working on the energy field, you're working at the root of the problem. And this is what we're going to start seeing more and more, how important energy is. So what I saw is that we have this, it's kind of like a divine wave, and there's two parts to this. So I'll talk about the feminine in the second part, but what it feels like is we have this divine sort of remembering energy coming for all of us. So we are remembering the divine feminine. We are remembering the divine order of all things that is feminine, because females are the creator. The energy is feminine. And that's not to exclude masculine energy. They both have to be there in tandem. They're both equally necessary. If you do not have the container of the masculine to create a safe space, the feminine cannot freely move through there. Growth is going to be stunted when when whatever growth is trying to happen is not in a safe place. So that is, of the utmost important. And I'm going to bring this in right here because Saturn, because of the transit, I would recommend this. But also Saturn is a really good blend for boundaries. And this is what we need when we are getting on this new kind of cadence and this new rhythm that I'm going to be talking about when I get more into, what to focus on this month. So anyways, like I said, it's a lot, and it's hard to kind of bring it all down and go, okay, what does all of this mean? So the image that I saw, the spiral of light that's sort of spinning, and it's helping us to kick off this old sludge of ideas, old patterns, old thoughts, old beliefs, right? Old ways of being. And so the spinning of that is helping us, but there is sludge kind of calcified in the center of, if you imagine like a bike wheel and the spokes, and it's all kind of calcified on there. So the spinning will help, but we also have to meet it to kind of help the raising of our vibration to happen. And what I'm seeing is the raising of our own vibration will help to sort of scrape the sludge off of the wheel so that we can be more in divine union, communion, alignment with the divine and with our higher purpose and our higher self. So part of what has caused the calcification, there's many things, but lack of movement, both physical and energetic, and they're both important. Think of it as like the physical is the masculine, the container of things moving, and then the energy moving is the feminine moving, and they both need to be working together to create that movement. So it feels really positive. It feels really exciting that it's like, okay, March has been a little up and down with that sense of divine order. And like I said last month, there is this sense of, speaking of Saturn, there is this sense of the fatherly energy that's sort of like, hey, we're going to help you so long as you're dedicated to your own healing, so long as you're dedicated to your own expansion. And, any one of us or any parts of us that aren't are in a way going to get left behind. Because we have to learn that, I have to participate in this thing. My intention and my attention actually matter. And I'm the only one that can decide where my attention goes. And I'm the only one that can decide what my intention for my attention is. And so this is a participatory thing. And it's sort of happening here in April too, where if you are not desiring to focus on it, or the parts of you that aren't focusing on expansion or bringing in more light for yourself, or, just coming into like a divine, like Oprah says, live your best life. And, who really cares? It's like our best life is the one we're living. But also, we all desire to, take up a little bit more space, have a little bit more, reach our goals, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm seeing is that we're not going to get there without the determination, of ourselves. Like you don't gain a six-pack by doing, an ab routine one time. It's like you have to have that repetition, that commitment. We're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But here's the other thing. So we have the sludge that's calcified from old energy, old thoughts, old beliefs. And it's like the vibration of the planet is increasing. And so those ideas can't stand anymore. But also we need to work in tandem with them it's almost like we're showing our commitment by just showing up and doing the thing. Okay? There's also a second piece to this. And I think it's because it has to do with divine feminine energy, but I've started feeling this essence, the thread of sisterhood moving through all things. It's like, and I think it's why I was called to create the Wild Sisterhood in the first place. And I understand now why people are hesitant to join groups like that because whenever you bring women together, there's this memory of, times having gone bad or being betrayed by your fellow sister, right? Because we have all of this sludge built up in the collective memory. And so there is this way, and any woman knows what I'm talking about. There's this energy that isn't really spoken about, but everyone feels it. It's like there's a break in the bond of women. And it's because of all of this old, I want to check my notes to see what words I even used. Disconnection, betrayal, dishonesty, and competition. It's like those things live in this thread of the mother line. And it's also ancestral because I'm seeing that it's like, our grandmother, our mother, us, our children, and it goes all the way down. And what we're doing with this new frequency is clearing the sludge out of that ancestral line, because a lot of those old ways of being and treating each other don't work anymore, especially when you're talking about bringing in divine feminine energy. Because divine feminine energy does not compete. Divine feminine energy is a circle, not a ladder. It's not a hierarchical thing, and it's not about, putting our sisters down. And, there's just this thing that exists in the, feminine community. It's like, this sense of competition. If one woman is kind of taking up too much space, there's a sense of like, other women that are uncomfortable by the fact that she's taking up so much space. And, there's this feeling of competition, like, oh, if you rub someone the wrong way because you are being bold and brave and going out and doing your work or whatever, and then someone that you're near is threatened by that or uncomfortable by that because maybe they're not doing the same thing or they're uncomfortable about doing it, you going to do it triggers something in them that is like, oh, hey, don't you remember? We agreed to all stay down. We agreed to all stay quiet. We agreed to all stay small. And so when one woman goes to break out of that sort of unspoken agreement, but you can feel it on like an energetic soul contract level, that women are all supposed to stay, society, especially the patriarchy, expects us to be pretty and small and quiet and helpful. Like we're supposed to just tend to everybody else's shit, but never have any needs of our own. We're certainly not supposed to feel all of our wild emotions, especially if they ruffle anyone else's feathers. And the reality is that our emotions are about us. They're not, if someone else's feathers are ruffled, that's about them. That has nothing to do with you. And so there's this kind of unspoken thing that's happened in feminine communities. And, and then women are always, especially empaths, they're always kind of correcting themselves to fit inside of what the feminine community says you're allowed to be. And so in a lot of ways, we're all, we strive for more. We want more. We want to be bigger. We want to take up more space. We want to be brighter. We want to live our best life. We want to, be in alignment with our soul purpose and what we're doing here. We want to, I think, at really a core level, I know I certainly feel this. I have a desire to work in rhythm with other women that is all on an equal playing field without this competition crap. And it feels like the competition between women, and it's so big that it's hard to even explain, but I'm trying to just barely crack the surface of it so we can see that it's here. The competition, it's like, you can feel it all the time that there's this hierarchical thing. Like we have on some level agreed, okay, we're all going to stay here so that we don't ruffle anyone's feathers or we don't get anyone in trouble. And I think it had to do with safety, all the way back from the witch trials and, as far back as Jesus and before that. I mean, it's just, I've been reading this book called When the Drummers Were Women, and it goes all the way back to like 2500 BC. And back when it kind of depicts what it was like with women-ruled, women-led community and society. And it's with the loss of all that and the kind of dominance of patriarchy, it's like the patriarchy says, okay, you're supposed to look this certain way. And so all of us women are kind of looking at each other going, okay, are you agreeing to that? Are you agreeing to that? Okay, are you going to go this big? Are you going to go this big? But we've created this almost kind of codependent way of doing it, because if we see a sister that is, expanding beyond us, it tends to, you can just watch it, it tends to trigger jealousy and rage and aggression and competition in someone who feels insecure and isn't ready to open up in that level. And then in the person who's trying to open up, when they feel that kind of hatred thrown at them, then it can pull us down and feel like, oh gosh, I'm supposed to like dumb myself down because I might disrupt the happiness or harmony of someone else. And I think as women, we have that natural innate rhythm of the drum built into us. The rhythm, the heartbeat of Earth, like we're so in sync with that we desire to be in rhythm and we desire to be in harmony with our fellow women and our fellow humans. But this kind of jealousy, judgment, competition comes in and jams everything up. So as I see the divine feminine energy coming in, it feels like this is the remembering that we are doing, especially as women. We have to remember that we're all on the same level. We have to remember that we have to do our own internal work. If you're triggered about something, you got to go inside and look at what the trigger is and work with it yourself instead of shooting arrows at everybody else. But here's the thing. This is what I'm seeing as this wheel is spinning and this energy is coming in and this sludge is, going to come off. I see that potentially as that wheel gets moving, the sludge could start just flinging off and hitting whatever is in its way. And so I caution us a little bit to just be aware of that there may be heightened experiences and opportunities for you to get in a clash with your fellow women. And what I think is interesting about this is, on the surface, it might seem terrible to have an argument with one of your people that you care about and love, or someone that you've disconnected with and you reconnect with and you have this row over it. But it feels like the message I'm getting is the sludge has to go by any means necessary. So you might have some experiences where you have the opportunity to have a kind, generous, gentle exchange where, two women are coming together, or because this is, I'm talking about feminine energy. So this doesn't exclude men. Men have feminine energy too, and theirs is getting course corrected and rebalanced as well. So this could come in so many different packages. But it could come where, there's like a fever pitch argument and it's just like vomiting energy, on someone. Or, have you ever had one of those like an argument with someone where you recognize the argument actually isn't happening? It's just energy that has to purge. And once the argument is over, you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That was so ridiculous. And you hug and you're over it. So it kind of has that vibe, like the sludge is going to start to fling, and some of it will be controlled based on sort of the consciousness of the people having the argument. And then also it might be two very conscious people, but the energy that's moving out is very unconscious and it's just going to come out. And like I said, it could be very chaotic. So those are the two main things that I'm seeing, is this spinning of energy, this brightening of light, The image for this month is this kind of rainbow spiral. And so it does have a brighter, higher level quality to it. Like, wow, we're going to really start to anchor in this new Pluto and Aquarius energy. And we're going to start to feel the vibe of it and go, wow, this feels so much better when we focus on the energy, when we become aware of the fact that we're having psychic conversations with people all the time, even if we never talk to them. In my work all the time, we'll be cutting cords, we'll be disconnecting from people, we'll be editing and altering relationships that those people may never have a conversation in the physical. And it doesn't matter because the potency is in the energy of the thing. The matter is just a representation of what's happening in the energy. Okay, so, the sisterhood thing is so massive. I'm like, I gotta create a podcast and just be talking about all this kind of stuff over and over because there's so much of it. But I'm going to be really interested to hear what people's response to even hearing about this is, because I feel like it's the conversation that we never have. Women are responding to it all the time. We are constantly responding to these kinds of exchanges that are happening in the energy. Like, we'll feel the vibe of it in a relationship or something, but we don't talk about it. And it's so here for us. And here I am shuffling the cards, and I didn't even talk about the oils and all the 3 things to focus on. Okay, well, that card just flew out, so we're just going to look at that. Okay, so the 3 things to focus on this month, one of them is vibration, and it's because it's connected to energy. And the vibration on the planet is changing, but also in order to help that sludge move from your own energy field, this is where you have to engage in your own work. And so you're going to want to use all of the vibration shifting tools, tuning forks, essential oils, yoga nidra. I just did a yoga nidra that was part of my class, and I'm working on a second one right now on Insight Timer, so you can go find that. Yoga in general, Kundalini yoga, meditation, diet, exercise, all the things, sound healing, just even listening to sound healing, theta frequencies or alpha frequencies or anything, binaural beats, solfeggio, all of those kind of frequency healing tools. Because here's the other thing, I'm just getting this right now. The frequencies, even if you're not, like, I'm going to start a chanting practice again. I just know, like, I'm going to do another 40-day rotation because I can just feel like, oh, this is needed here. But even if you're not chanting and you're not moving it through your physical body, even just listening to it is signaling to your subconscious, your autonomic nervous system, hey, there's calm and peace here. There's safety when you're listening to frequencies like that. You're attuning your body to calm, balanced, gentle frequencies. If you want to, maybe I'll put a link in the blog on it, but just go to biofieldtuning.com to look for tuning forks. The 2 that I have 2 different sonic sliders, and those are ones that go against your body. So you can check those out. And then she also has tuning forks that she uses outside of the body, but that's more if you know what you're doing and you're doing it as a practitioner. Okay, so vibration is the one thing. Routine is the second thing. Consistency is key. So it isn't just about doing the vibration one time. It isn't just about listening to the frequencies one time. It's about doing a yoga nidra every night, every day, whatever it is. Doing a yoga practice, doing a chanting practice. It's about consistency. And I was working on the next yoga nidra to put on Insight Timer, but I think I'm going to fast track at least one of the chants that I'm going to do for 40 days, just so that if you want to do it with me as kind of a communal practice, you can grab it there, and then I'll do it for 108 times. So you can just listen to it 108 times, and then you know when you're done, if you're interested in that. Okay, the third thing is, I can't even read my own handwriting. Tuning in. Like, literally couldn't even read my own handwriting. Okay. So vibration, routine, and tuning in. And you can use that routine and that consistency with the tuning in. So we want to be tuning in with ourselves every day. And this could be like just a few minutes. You place your hand on your heart, you close your eyes, and you just tune in like, where am I? How do I feel right now? Like bring your attention, do a body scan, just check like, okay, I've got tension in my shoulders. I'm noticing that my breath is a little bit shallow. It's up top here. Like just these kind of things so that you can start collecting the data and looking at where you are. Because when you get that data, then you can turn to your vibrational tools to see what is necessary in that moment. And the other piece I wanted to bring in is that I got a hit right before sitting down to record this, that it isn't just, you know, a lot of us people that are listening to this kind of a video, you probably have some sense of routine and using vibrational tools of some kind already. But what I want to impart, what I'm hearing is that yes, don't stop doing what you're already doing, but it is helpful, it is useful to pick up one or two other vibrational tools that you don't normally do. So if you listen to frequencies all the time, but you never meditate, think about meditating. If you meditate all the time, but you never chant, think about chanting. If you do all the things and you don't have tuning forks, get some tuning forks. Because what I'm hearing is whatever you have already been using has been working on the stuff that was already stuck. And we're going to a deeper level now. So it doesn't matter what the thing is, it just matters that you use something that's relatively newer to you because it's going to work on the sludge in your system that hasn't been touched because you have never done that style. Essential oils are thefrigginbomb.com. They're my favorite thing. I diffuse every morning, every night, and I wear oils every single day. In fact, lately I have been leaving Saturn and Pluto just sitting on my desk and I'm using them constantly. I'll get into the oils too. Oh, that's where we are right now anyways. Okay, so there's 2 oils for this month. Really interesting how this came through because I was writing it and I'm like, I think it's freedom. And then I reached out to a friend that I knew had the Freedom and Release bundle and I asked her what her experience was with it because there's a whole like 2-box bundle that Young Living makes and it's really helpful for people that have sleep issues. And it's for a myriad of other things, but I just asked her about it and she just couldn't say enough good things about it. So I was like, that's interesting. And then as I started writing, I was like, there's 2 oils this month and they're for different things / different people or different expressions of energy. So the first one is freedom, as I said. So this one it's kind of the frequency of where we're going. So if you're someone who's been on the spiritual path for a long time, you've been doing the work for a long time, you don't have issues. I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't have issues with control, but if you feel like you have less issues with control, or you used to have it and you don't so much anymore, maybe you're going to want to go to freedom because you're going to want to anchor in the vibration and wear the vibration of where we're going. We're arcing towards freedom. So it's like, hey, like working with the quantum field, I'm going to wear freedom or diffuse freedom. I'm going to call in that vibration so that it comes to find me more quickly. And also there's a second piece to this. And I heard release and I wrote the whole thing and then I realized, oh my God, I was just talking to my friend about this and there is a bundle called Freedom and Release and I did not intend to put those together because of that. But what I was seeing is that for people that have a harder time letting go of control, are more resistant to the idea of energy, are more resistant to change, are more resistant to being non-reactive and calming down and having a thoughtful, kind conversation instead of blowing up. Like all of these kinds of things are going to be helped by using release. And also then when I remembered that that there's a bundle with 2 of these boxes and they come with a whole bunch of other oils too. But anyway, there's a tandemness to these oils in the way that we use them. So even if you arc more towards, hey, I want to call the vibration of freedom in, don't ignore the release part because there is something to be said for using them in tandem, like the masculine and feminine has to come together to be in balance. And this is the other thing that is just so precious about it. It's like, and this is the thing that we've lost because of the bond of the sisterhood being broken, is that working together and that sense of caring for your fellow sister and having a soft place to fall and knowing that you can go to your sister for support without judgment, you know? And we have lost that in spades, and we need to call it back. And so I'm seeing this freedom and release, you know, these oils working in tandem, like they're rewiring the nervous system to remember that that's the way we used to always do it. That's our divine, innate way of doing things. And this is why I always say, is, you know, I've been running women's circles for, my God, I started them back in like 2010 before I was even doing my work professionally. When women gather, shit gets done, because you don't even have to know why you're coming together. You don't even have to know. It's like every single time we do a women's circle in Wild Sisterhood, every time we come together in Intuitive Collage, which is available for the public if you want to come and just check it out. The women's circle is not, that's only in the Wild Sisterhood membership. But every single time we come together, like magic happens. And I don't even have to know what the theme is going to be. I don't have to know what's going to happen, because when we all come together and we start sharing, a story starts to unfold and we see ourselves in each other, and it just heals and it calms all of those, God, those square, rough edges that, you know, this way that women have had to, for a lot of survival reasons, become really angular and become more aggressive, you know, in a masculine way that isn't organic to our nature in order to survive. And that is dying right now. As the patriarchy starts dying, the patriarchy that is internalized within us has to go too. So I really encourage you to check out both of these oils and to use them in tandem. That's what I'm hearing. So I use Release a lot in the bathtub. That's a great place to use it with Epsom salt, or I'll diffuse it in the bathtub. Sometimes I'll put it in the bathtub and I'll also diffuse it. But because we have two here and using them in tandem, I would go Release in the bathtub and diffuse Freedom. Maybe even I haven't tried them both together in the diffuser. I don't know what they smell like, but you might try that as well. Diffusing one, wearing another, like that kind of thing. Anchoring in, like, oh, maybe you're feeling really irritated today, or you feel like you have a lot to release. So wear Release and diffuse Freedom. If you feel like, wow, I really want to call that freedom future, that kind of to me, to be here right now, then wear Freedom. Okay, let's see what we got for the card. I can't even really believe this based on what I've just talked about. I've read this card before. I know we've got this card, so I am somewhat familiar with it, but here we go. It's called Rebis, the Androgen. I don't really know how to pronounce that. The Androgen, okay? Creative Transcendence, Multiplicity, the Artist. The androgen is a deeply revered image in alchemy. Born of Hermes and Aphrodite, Hermaphroditos has been classically depicted as a balanced union of masculine. I gotta stop right here, okay? The word hermaphrodite comes from Hermes and Aphrodite, the masculine and the feminine coming together. And my understanding is that at some ancient time, there were more hermaphrodites, or we were all more that way, balanced in ourselves with both. But anyways, that's a different story. Okay, born of Hermes and Aphrodite, Hermaphroditos has been classically depicted as a balanced union of divine masculine, the sun, and divine feminine, the moon. Yet today's alchemist knows the androgynon is far more nuanced than that. It encompasses the infinite spectrum and reveals itself in every changing non-binary form. Okay, this is why nuance is so important. And why we as a collective have to get out of black and white thinking, because the answer is usually somewhere in the middle. It includes both sides. It's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. The answer does not live at the extremes. And it's kind of like if we reject one thing, then we reject, part of ourselves. Okay, the divine hermaphrodite defies definition. As it is a deeply personal, felt experience. This is why it's so hard for me to even bring this down and talk about it, because it is so nuanced and it is so subtle. And that's why subtlety matters so much. This is why one of my favorite poems, A Ritual to Read to Each Other by William Stafford, talks about this. Like the nuance, the subtleness is so vital. Okay, accessing this fluid and enlightened state requires us to slip into the contradictory realm of the senses. Breath by breath, we are drawn into our limbs, our fluids, our orifices, organs, and cells. This has everything to do with what I'm talking about with routine and vibration and being drawn into the body. And when it says the contradictory realm of the senses, what that brings up for me is like when we have a reaction, like we're angry at someone or something. And then our mind can tell us a story about that and say, oh, well, because I'm angry, I'm justified. And that means I can do whatever I want. And then we act out of turn, or we act, it's like we stop reading the room and we just say, maybe we never read the room, but we stop reading the room and realize like, oh, I'm not taking context into account. I'm just like, fighting because I feel like I'm justified because I'm angry. Okay, so I'm going to say this again. Breath by breath, we are drawn into our limbs, our fluids, our orifices, organs, and cells. We let go of rules and labels. Judgment is suspended. The gods are present, as are the creative mysteries of the underworld. For a brief moment, we hold all of our complexities in one loving form. Like a newborn, we know not our name, our gender, age, or location. We are the embodied artist, embraced unconditionally by the sun and the moon. And so this is it has to do with masculine, feminine energy, but it also has to do with loving our sisters with all of their flaws and understanding, that sentence from the Bible that Jesus said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Because I really deeply believe that most people are good people and they're not intending harm. I don't think most people intend harm. They inflict harm because they're not paying attention. They forgot context. Or they forgot that, like, well, maybe if I ask a point of clarification, I'll understand that that's not actually what they meant. And so it's, where all this kind of nuanced energy lives. And it's so important for us to heal that divide. To go deeper, read the poem, The Idea of Ancestry by Etheridge Knight. Okay, the ancestry is so up. It's been so up in all of my sessions the last couple of weeks too. I can just feel it. To ponder sexuality without language, intimacy without sexuality. I mean, how beautiful. Though an alchemical image of completion, the androgen makes a beginner of all of us. Regardless of gender orientation and sexual preferences, allow yourself to know nothing today. Okay, this is what I mean by, I'm getting this more now with the freedom and release thing. It's that sense of like, even if you feel like you've been on your path for your whole life and you've got it figured out and you're like, I just want ascension, I just want to, be in my divine purpose, whatever, I don't want to deal with like all this 3D human bullshit. And also you're in a human 3D body. And, it's like you have to, it's almost like loving the underworld, dark shadow sides of yourself in order to be in better fluid motion. Because if there's any part of yourself that you can't look at, then that's like exactly where the problem is. You know, it's like, that's the thing. If you were to look at it, it's going to radiate out and release its grip on you. Make a list of your contradictions. Start with sometimes I'm this way and sometimes it just says sometimes I'm blank and sometimes I'm blank. Keep writing quickly until you feel the inclusive power of this archetype awaken. I mean, this is everything I'm feeling. And look at this. Even on here, we have like that wheel image. And then there's the Vesica Pisces. It's like we need duality. We need both of us. We need both sides, the sun and the moon, in order to come into balance. And here's the rainbow, right? I mean, and then here's the divine feminine right here as the rose. And it can't grow in soil that isn't good. It has to have thorns to protect itself from animals that would come to harm it. Like there's such a divine balance that has to happen for this to even come into play. And that's what we're learning to do within ourselves. And I think that's why, you know, 2 oils, and that's why it's not just tuning forks. It's tuning forks and yoga. It's talking it out with a friend, and it's also a salt bath with essential oils. You know what I mean? It's like we have to hold space. It's like the divine feminine, you know, the mother of all things. She accepts all and rejects none. And that's what we're learning. That's what we're remembering so that we can embody that same presence. All of it is okay so long as we allow it to be okay. Anyways, all right. I think that's good. We're at 40 minutes now. That was a long one. Love you. Let me know if you have any questions, of course, always. If you need help with oils, if you need these, you can find on my website and my shop. Let's see. We've got full moon in Libra coming up on, what is it, the 7th, I think. And I forget what the new moon is later in April, but you are welcome to download any of those moon ceremonies in the shop. They're pre-recorded. If you are called to this conversation of sisterhood, if you feel this desire to be in union, to be in harmony, to come together regularly with your sisters, this is what we're doing in the Wild Sisterhood. It's about activating our wild again and also coming into harmony with our sisters and allowing all of it. So that Wild Sisterhood membership includes both the new and full moon pre-recorded ceremonies. It includes a private women's circle for only the people in the sisterhood. And then it includes an intuitive collage that's also live that we do every month, usually around the new moon, to kind of give us an oracle reading that we create in front of us to help us understand what's coming for us personally in the new moon cycle. And it's amazing how the overlaps happen when we do it together and we get messages for each other, and it's just a gorgeous thing. So anyways, I love you. Namaste. Go check out my Insight Timer. I'll be publishing more stuff there and more classes and all of it coming. I'm going to be working on a Learn to Chant workshop series of videos to help you learn how to embrace this tool that is one of my favorite things ever. It really has a power to move grief, move stuck energy out of the body. It's just a beautiful thing. So anyways, I'll shut up now. Love you so much. Have a wonderful month.